Good afternoon, everyone. I am Desmond A. White with Together SC. I'm excited to be here this morning with Mr. Paul Clark with Find Great People. We are going to pass it over to him and enjoy his presentation.
Great, that
Paul?
was quick. Thank you, Desmond. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Those are the best introductions. All right, welcome everybody. I know we have a short amount of time, so I'm going to jump right in. I was only going to be in Dallas for about 2 days several years ago for a business trip. And I had a slam-packed schedule, but I had to make an adjustment for my friend Joyce. I had to say thank you. I had to make some time for her because even though I didn't have time in my schedule, I owed her a face-to-face conversation. See, Joyce had been my boss for years when I was getting my master's degree in Dallas years ago. It was a great time working together. We had a lot of fun building a consulting practice together. And the departure wasn't great because she had to make some hard decisions when we lost our biggest client. I was part of that decision. And as a result, I ended up moving back to Greenville because I had finished my time in Dallas. But I wanted to meet up with Joyce to be able to say thank you to her because of the kind of person she was. We're talking today about our most memorable boss. Joyce was certainly one of those. She was the kind of person that the way she approached people and business had a magical balance, the way that she made hard decisions, sometimes over many weeks, sometimes in mere seconds. Really the way that she helped me to learn how to stop and think. She modeled what became actually my three core values in life. She helped me understand what was my what, which is excellence, and what was my how, which is passion, and what was my why, which was compassion. And those have become my three core values ever since. Joyce really helped me to understand those. Um, I would say that Joyce is sort of actually a long string of really important and impactful people in my life. Many bosses that I've had throughout my life that are very memorable. Grateful to even say that my current boss is on that list of really important people that have a great positive impact in my life. I'm curious about you. So we're going to make this interactive today. If you are able and willing to either put it in the chat or just come on screen, it'd be even better. Bonus points if you're willing to come on screen and on camera and just share maybe a 30-second reflection. What is something that somebody that was a boss of yours said or did that had an impact on you? And I'm glad to see Paige jumping in there first because Paige, you're going to get called out. I am a 10-year Dale Carnegie facilitator grad, and Paige was my very first Dale Carnegie instructor, my mentor, and I was a bit intimidated when I saw her on the list of people joining. But I'd love to have your input, Paige, or anybody else who would like to share. What is something that somebody did that had an impact in your career?
Well, that was very kind of you, Paul. And obviously, I was going to hop on since you were the presenter. When I think about impactful leadership that I've had the opportunity to work under, Kathy Dunleavy is one who immediately comes to mind. And that is because she was very determined. And it wasn't necessarily anything she said to me, but it's what she modeled. And one was determination. Another was work hard, play hard. That we needed to make sure that laughter was a part of our day. And that relationships, especially when you're looking at the nonprofit sector, building strong relationships is key to that success.
Great. Something as simple as laughter. Isn't that amazing how valuable that is? Just to be able to laugh together. And we sometimes take life too seriously. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else in the chat or on screen? Somebody that made an impact in your life that made a difference. Opportunity to just give them a little bit of spotlight there. We're going to have more of these opportunities coming, so prepare yourself to interact. Okay. Let's ask the question: who is what kind of a Joyce are we? Let's say it's 20 years from now, right? And someone asked one of your current employees 20 years from now, who were the most impactful leaders in your life? And you're on their list. What are they going to say? What do you want to be known for? I'll let that hang for a minute. We can all kind of address that maybe on our own, but it'd be good for us to think about that. And I may ask that question at the very end as we're wrapping up. Let that be an inspiring for us to think, who can I be a choice for?
Well, Paul, not to be a hog, but I will say, because of I I just got feedback from one of the folks that I'm currently leading, and with looking at disaster response and just what that has meant for our organization. But this person had recorded, hey, here's some things that I want to make sure that that people have done and how they've shown up. And at the end of it, her comment was, me being there to support her and do whatever I could to pull things off of her plate. But I think the thing that was most impactful that she shared was being able to feel comfortable with voicing feelings and opinions and giving that feedback, being able to provide that space, whether it was positive or negative.
That's great. Yeah, just being an approachable leader that's safe for people to come to, especially when things are hard. And we've all had hard over the last few weeks, certainly as a community. Well, there are some stats. I don't need to wear us down with a lot of stats. We don't need these a lot of times. We typically kind of know these anyway, but just for what it's worth, I'll just put them out there. Is that, 57% of employees quit because of a bad manager. And 7 in 10 people in the US would say, I would probably leave, even if I haven't already. I would leave if I had a bad manager. And it does affect our generations differently. Particularly, we see the higher stats with our younger team members. They would a bad boss would make them consider a new job. Here's kind of the breakdown by the generations. And you see that I'm more of a baby boomer at that end, but as you kind of move back towards the younger generations, it's even higher. In that the Gen Zs are a little bit lower than millennials, interestingly. We don't have alpha generation data yet, but what are we seeing about who's most likely to quit over a bad boss? And again, we see these. Cool thing kind of dropped in my inbox just yesterday. I was really excited about this because it came from Harvard Business Review, which we use a lot of times in our training, our coaching program at FGP. And this was a really interesting article. So I'm gonna lift a few things out of this. I'm giving you a screenshot. If you are a subscriber to HBR, you can pull this down yourself as well. It was really helpful information. They gave 4 reasons why people leave. So we're gonna take a minute and just talk about that. They call them quests for progress. I like that. It means that people have different reasons at different times in their life, depending on where they are in their life season right now, but based on personal family responsibilities or just where they are in their career, is that people tend to kind of zigzag through their career based on what they're looking for. But if we don't understand why employees quit and we're trying to resolve it, trying to fix that, trying to address the problem of retention or about lack of engagement, if we don't understand why they leave, then it's like a person just reaching back into their toolbox for a screwdriver, not looking to see if the screw is a flathead or a Phillips head screw. They need to know first what they're actually trying to resolve. So here's the 4 quests that people are trying to resolve. One is just to get out. Okay, what does that mean? Well, they're being managed in a way that wears them down. They're over their heads, or they're feeling stuck in a dead-end job. They're facing steep obstacles. Maybe there's a toxic culture, or maybe just a role that's a bad fit, or there's just a bad commute, honestly. There's just not a good work-life balance for them. And so they're at odds with their work environment. They're eagerly, aggressively looking for an exit strategy. That's probably the most motivated person, is a person who's their current quest for progress is to get out of where they are. Secondly, it could be to regain control. Maybe they really feel like they're overwhelmed or bored at work or at home or both. It's a work-life balance even more. They need to rebalance it. They need more predictability or flexibility. They're what we might call a control seeker, of course. They're not looking for the nearest escape hatch. They're willing to wait. They feel pretty good about their overall trajectory, but they're not feeling good about the speed at which they're moving. They'll switch when the right opportunity comes along. Maybe they're trying to regain alignment. They're feeling a profound lack of respect at work. They're not feeling fully utilized or appreciated or acknowledged. They're lacking validation. They might have a kind of a dark outlook, maybe fixated on the ways in which their current role doesn't play into what they have to offer or what they wish to contribute. They'll follow the promise of being valued or being fully utilized. Many times they just want a bigger challenge. And then there's the ones who want to take the next step. They've reached a plateau in life. Maybe they've reached a personal or professional milestone, like getting a certain degree under wraps, or they've achieved a development goal, or they've become an empty nester. They're job switchers, so they're just eager to move on in their career. Unlike the other three, these aren't necessarily reacting to a bad situation. They're just pursuing growth. So they're looking for kind of a stretch role. Those are the 4 categories of why people leave in large categories. So what makes for a bad manager versus a good manager? If we're talking about whether we are one or the other, we're going to look briefly at this list of qualifications or characteristics of a bad manager. The style is not strong. They're unapproachable. These are lists we all know. Maybe unfortunately we can remember situations where we've been in like this or with other leaders. They don't balance people's plan really well. They don't have a good strategic plan for how to equip people and to move forward as an organization. They're overworking their team members. Not a good communicator. This is probably the number one overall challenge, is just poor communication. It could be that they're not really a good influencer. They're not providing the kind of support that people need to be able to move forward. One of the biggest responsibilities of a manager is just to remove obstacles. Or they're just low IQ, EQ. They have a low emotional intelligence. They're not self-aware. So this is just some bad characteristics. There's also good characteristics, sort of the reverse of each of those, but they're able to rally people behind the company and the department goals. They provide tools and support needed to succeed. You tend to have 2 levers. If you think about it this way, as a manager, you have challenge and support, almost like one of those mowers that you've seen in the yards where it's kind of the 2 sticks. You can go left or right. The one lever is, am I supporting people like I need to? Am I giving them the encouragement and the time and the training and the resources? Am I listening more, taking time to just kind of back off and balance things a little bit better for them? Or am I challenging a little bit more? We have the need to move towards goals. We need to have some deadlines. We need to have some accountability. And those 2 sticks are the 2 that we have to work with, really pretty much all, is support and challenge. And it is different for each team member, each different day. And we have some cultures that are more built on that kind of dominant approach, which is all challenge, no support. That's not a strong culture. That's more the old school top down, because I said so kind of approach. There can be a kind of approach where we are almost the extreme opposite. It's all support, no challenge, very low expectations. It's kind of a, let's just here to help you feel good about yourself. And if we get the work done, that's great, but not really super important. Those are really bad extremes. There can be a lack of both. Totally disengaged leader that's not providing either challenge or support. They're just disengaged. And of course, the best is to have the right balance of both challenge and support along the way. That's what a great manager does, provides the tools and support needed. They inspire confidence. They lead toward solutions. They're giving examples. They're leading from the front, not from the rear, but they can also read the room. They get that emotional intelligence thing really working well for them. Strong communicator and thinker, and they are a coach. A coach is not someone with answers. A coach is someone with questions. So that's what we're trying to come into when we have these conversations with people. If you have questions, please drop those in the chat as we go along. I like to have more interactions, so please feel free about doing that as we move through the content, please. Okay, what is leadership about? Really 3 things. This is very simplistic, we know, but certainly it's about actions. You're measured by your actions, about the things you do. That's very easy to see what a leader does. But even more so, actions become behaviors because you're known for the type of actions. It's your character. It's what you're known for. It's your reputation. And the largest and probably the most important definition of leadership is really about influence. If you just pick one word, what is a leader? Good or bad is influence. Are you a leader? Well, are people following you? Is anybody behind you actually coming along with you? The influence is what really makes us a strong leader. So we have to help people understand what they're really doing, right? We have to help them understand their roles. So employees with high, what they call role clarity, demonstrate certain things. A leader, as a good communicator, as a good strategic thinker, as a good guide, as a good supporter and challenger, has to help people understand what are our roles. We're going to talk in a minute about thinking about even job descriptions as we're attracting and retaining people. But here's just some simple stats, comes out from HR analytics. 86%, high levels of effectiveness. If they understand their role, they're more effective in the role. It makes sense. They're more satisfied with their leaders. They have greater productivity. They have more intention to stay. So are we clear about what is it that you're here to solve every day? On a macro level, why did we hire you? What problems did we bring you in to solve? And then on a more micro level, on a daily basis, what are our goals? What page are we on today? If you've seen Patrick Lencioni's information about death by meeting, it's a great story I recommend. A wonderful, powerful tool that you could maybe look into, or Lencioni talks about the different kinds of meetings that we have. Paige, did you want to jump in and say something? I see you on screen. You're just good. You're just being visible. I love it. That's great. So Lencioni talks about the 5-minute stand-up meeting just at the very beginning of the day for everybody just to talk. We used to pass a koosh ball around. You got 60 seconds in our team of 5 people, and you got 5 minutes. We're gonna talk about what we're doing today. If you go over 60 seconds, then the person next to you gets to pick a song that you've got to sing out loud for the rest of the group. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time doing that. But then you have that kind of weekly strategy meeting. You have those quarterly offsite meetings. Those are all really important, different scales and scopes. Are we providing clarity for people about what we're supposed to be doing? Really important for us to do. What is a successful leader then? What are we known for? Well, a successful leader is, of course, competent in one thing. Like, they know the job. If you don't know the job and you don't have the skills to be able to lead from the front, I liken leadership a lot of times to a bicycle. And the back wheel of the bicycle is what drives your success. That's your competence. It's your skills. It's your resume. It's your ability, your technical skills. You know what the job entails. But you know what really actually drives our success? Is not the back wheel, it's the front wheel. It's our ability to steer conversations, to earn trust and respect and influence, to guide change. And that's the interpersonal relationships, not the technical, but it's the interpersonal. And our work with teams is about the front wheel. I'm a front wheel coach, not a back wheel coach. So you have to be competent first. Are you contagious? Do people actually want to follow you? It doesn't mean you're likable. We always make that mistake. It's not like it can be likability. It doesn't have to be. Frankly, the more we focus on likability, the less we are effective as a leader in that way. It's almost something that's invisible. If that kind of contagion is really about just being a person that people want to follow and want to listen to, want to be like. Are we confident, right? That's again, almost a kind of person that walks into a room, and there's 2 kinds of people that walk into every room. There's the here I am kind of a person, that's 90% of us. And there's the there you are kind of person, right? If I said, hey, Lisa, tell me about the last great vacation you had. And Lisa starts telling about it. And she says, oh, we went to Alaska on a cruise. I'm like, oh, really? That's great. I have a choice at that moment. I can say, what did you like about it? What were the best fun things what was something that's memorable? What's one photo that you wish you could share with the whole world from your trip to Alaska? Or I could say, oh, my wife Lisa and I were there back 5 years ago. And I could start talking about my trip to Alaska and forget about your trip to Alaska. That's a person whose lack of confidence is showing up because they're a here I am kind of person. A strong leader is often choosing to become a there you are kind of person, not a here I am kind of person. It focuses on you, not on me. Am I looking good? Are you seeing how great I am? Am I talking about myself? Am I taking credit for that great idea? Or am I willing to share that with somebody else? Give the credit to somebody else. That's a confident leader. How about someone who's just comfortable, just good to be around? People just enjoy being around you. Can you laugh? As Paige said a minute ago, loved a former employer who just was able to laugh. Are people okay being able to be themselves around you? Frankly, are they able to fail around you and me? What happens when they make a mistake? One of the best coaching questions you could ever ask on Wednesday after Tuesday didn't go very well is, hey, if you could do yesterday over again, what would you do differently? And let them answer and see what they say. Maybe they already know where they screwed up. Maybe they don't. But if they answer the question, you start feeling, yeah, that's true. I wonder if that's a great way to come in and correct something that didn't go very well. Can you be comfortable? And can you be courageous? Can you make hard decisions? Sometimes we have to make hard decisions about team members, about bringing on a new team member. That's the easy one. Letting go someone is hard, or having that hard conversation about feedback and accountability. But people will appreciate when they're actually held to a higher account. Okay, so which of these are our strengths? Which of these are our weaknesses? All right. Again, a little bit of reflection for you as you look at those as a leader. Which do I feel like I do pretty well? Great. As you take note, and we're happy to share these slides if you'd like. Take note. Which of these do I think I kind of lean into well? Lean in more. Take advantage of your strengths. Lean in more. Okay. And which maybe could be some that we could work on a little bit more. What's one that I could really focus on being even more effective at each of these 5 C's? Now, I've got a long list here I'm going to put up next. We don't have time to unpack it in our short meeting. It's kind of a teaser for what you might want to do if you want to bring us in for more training. I do a whole session on this screen right here, this slide right here. What are key behaviors of effective leadership? And we could talk about each of those in a lot of detail. But again, just a little laundry list of things we could be thinking about. What can we be better at? Do a series on critical thinking, so helpful to do on how to lead for change. How to adapt to situations, so important to be able to get feedback from people and give feedback. So these are key behaviors. As we wrap up, in a minute, I'm going to ask if you have any questions, but here's just some suggestions for improving as we finish our time together today. One is to focus on the main thing, just thinking about what is the main thing. Back to the article that I mentioned earlier from Harvard Business Review, the researchers have come to believe that we as a work culture have failed to address the fundamental problem. It's the widespread failure to provide gratifying work experiences. We have to support people in their quest. Okay, what is a gratifying work experience? Well, meaningful work, valued, respected, trusted, grow, excel, advance in my career. I mean, that's what people really want. If we want to be the kind of leaders that are going to attract and retain people, to be that kind of manager that someone's going to look back from years from now and say, this is my Joyce. This is who the person was in my life. And it's you, right? Providing gratifying work experiences for people. We've also got to help them, support them in their personal quest for progress. Now, that should not be distant or different from our own companies, our organization's goals. You lead a nonprofit. You have a work that you do that matters in our community. The world is different because of the work that you do, and their personal goals, their personal quest ought to be in alignment with the organization's goals. That's the beauty of you as a manager leading them well through this. So how do we align the two together? So again, back to our article as we wrap up, there's 3 suggestions for improvement. Okay. And one is to interview them early on. You know, we talk about exit interviews, that's after the fact, it's too late, right? So let's interview them earlier. How about 90 days into their tenure, having a part of your onboarding process includes, how are we doing, right? We often start with the first week, we kind of overwhelm them with too much stuff in the first week. We give them way more than they can handle. And then 30, 60, 90 days in, are we asking the questions, is this working for you? Has this been a good thing? And then as you do that, weave in another question like, hey, if you don't mind us asking, it's been a few weeks, what drew you to us in the first place? How did you land here? In fact, if you don't mind my asking, what was there about your prior position that you like better here? Is there anything we're doing better here or anything we're doing worse here? Let's compare and contrast to where you were before. Those are called pushes and pulls. We're looking for pushes and pulls from the prior situation. Let's contrast with where you came from before. And let's see if we can learn from that. You're actually doing your exit interview early, way early, like at the beginning, so you can find out what are we learning about them. So better understanding what might motivate them to make a change soon if they're going to leave, or make them choose to stick around longer. So let that be fun. The researchers in this article actually recommended a 2-hour interview. The first hour for just asking and listening, really relaxed, maybe over lunch, just a nice conversation. What's going well for you? The second hour is now we're going to start doing some strategy work together. We're going to start figuring out what is your quest? How does that align with our organization's goals? And let's see if we can put together a strategy for us to have a really great long-term relationship together. So that's interesting to have that early on interview, right? The second would be for us to have a different approach to job descriptions. Job descriptions have become kind of a mess. Years ago, they were just, you paid by the line on the newspaper on the last pages of the classified ads. So it was like 3 lines. That was the whole job description back in the day. Now that we've got them posted online, we don't have that problem anymore. So they're like 18 pages and it's a laundry list. And you know that it's a wish list. Nobody actually is all that. And it's actually been sort of messed up by legal and HR. Sorry if you're an HR person, but it is. It's all kinds of ADA stuff, which is fine. But why don't we have a living document why don't we have a real life job description that we can create with people that are already doing the job? If you're going to add on a new person in a role that already exists, hey, tell me about your real job. What do you really do? What's a day in the life of look like for you? Hear that from them, ask the question, and are we aligning that with that? So when you're recruiting people, you have a shadow job description that says, here's what we really want you to do. Here's what we want you to do versus here's what you're going to be. And then finally, coordinate with HR. I talk about HR, they're super important. It's a valuable team asset. So get involved with them as you're building out these roles, as you're investing in the team members, involving HR. Frankly, we are an HR consulting practice, and we love being in that space with people. We love to be brought in to do that. Paige is smiling. We do a lot of work for her, I know. A lot of clients across the country, frankly, that we work with. So glad to do that. But you have an HR team member, work with them to do that as well. So my final question to you is, whose Joyce are you becoming? Whose Joyce are you becoming? And what questions do you have for us? So let me open up, put it in the chat if you have anything. We've got just a minute or two left here, but questions you might have or comments. Love to hear anything from you all. Has this been helpful? Glad to work with Desmond to send out the slides on a PDF if that's helpful for you as well.
I love the new Harvard Business Review article that you shared with us. I'm going to go see if I can locate that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always like a good plug for a Patrick Lencioni book, and I actually had just read that one.
It's a great story.
Again,
Really,
so,
just a story.
yeah.
Yeah. A golf
Yeah.
company that the guy can't get his act together.
Yeah. So, also some really good reminders, things that we need to keep at the forefront of our brains. So,
Right. Good. Thank you for joining. Desmond, thanks for the invitation. Eleanor, my partner, is one who set this up. She's an amazing resource. If you don't know Eleanor Dunlap, she's been phenomenal in helping a lot of nonprofits across the Southeast for years and is now part of our team. So quick plug for her, but I'm grateful to be part of your program today. Hope you have a great rest of your week.